Okay, let's do a quick sound check. Can you hear me? And can you hear Modwave? I can see how much the lag is as well. Let me know if you can hear me. Just want to do a quick check. Just someone comment. Let me know if you can hear me, and you can hear the Modwave. I'll try and test it from this and make sure it's working. Yeah, I think that's working. I can hear myself. Okay, we'll give it another minute and then we're ready to start. Great, thanks Les. Okay, I'm going to start off with, we'll do the Q&A as I said, give you a quick preview of one of the sounds that on this week's video and sound pack that is going to be coming out. So that is Gen SX1000 deep bass sound, and this week's video is going to be how I go through the process of recreating those sounds of the Gen. A few people have asked me how I do the sound packs and how I choose the sounds and how I create them. So what I did is I got my Gen SX1000, which is behind me at the moment, and put that on here next to the Modwave, and we had them then side by side. And then I could then literally listen to it, make the sound, tweak it, make the sound. So that's the theme of this week's video, is how I go through those steps of processing those sounds and then making them. So we've got a few, there's a sound pack to go with them as well, like with this element. So nice lead sounds, there's bass sounds and some square lead sounds, and these are all from the Gen SX1000, the mono synth. Right, so fire your questions through in the chat room, and I'll bring up my notes because I did ask for questions and I did get some, so I want to make sure I've got those on here. Got a few interesting things as well that I wanted to show off tonight. So we've got this is a module that I'm be looking at. This is a Korg NX5R, so a 90s rompler type module, which is going to be quite interesting. And just here, which I've got connected up so I can't show you, but I've got all the manuals, is a D110 Roland multitimbral sound module. So D110 is a sound module that came out 88 from Roland, and I actually had a D20, which this module is the mod version of, but the D110 is one of the first multi-timbral modules, so it's 8-part multi-timbral plus drums as well, using LA linear arithmetic synthesizer, which is a cut down version of the D50 really, essentially. So it's going to be quite interesting to get those sounds back and to hear how they sound sort of 30 years after I've sold the device. So that's going to be pretty good. So I'm just going to bring up my notes. But one thing that the first question which we got, which I wanted to talk about, was somebody asked me about, is there a way of importing Wavestation sounds into the Wavestate, which is so that's Korg. So I'll switch instruments on here. So I'll flick this across to the Wavestate. So if you follow the channel, you'll know I've recently got a Wavestate module, which is over here, and I've got the Wavestate native as well. And I actually created a sound pack for the Wavestate based on the Wavestation sounds. So these are the, let's set the MIDI up on this one so I can go through. So these are the sounds. Well, let's set the audio as well. So these are the sounds of the Wavestate that I've recreated. There we go. On the Wavestate. So the question that I was asked is there a way of importing them from the Wavestation, the original Wavestation, into the Wavestate? And the answer to that is definitely not. I've got both synths, and you can play both. You know, I can play both, and we can look at bringing the sounds in from together. But you can't import them. There's no way of doing that as well. The architecture of the synths is too different. In some respects, the Wavestate is just way more complex than the Wavestation. But in other areas, it's actually pretty much this. It's actually a lot more basic. For example, if I go to this Ski Jam patch here, which is the famous one. Let me set the audio so it comes through. So we can use both MIDIs at the same time. No, probably not. We'll do the keyboard. So there's the famous Ski Jam on the Wavestate. And in fact, let's have a look at. We'll have a look at one that say that this Analog Love thing, which I know is on here somewhere, although I probably won't be able to find it. But many of these are complex because the Wavestation has 8 parts, and each of those 8 parts, or the Wavestation patch or performance is made up of 8 individual patches, and each patch can have multiple waveforms and multiple wave sequences. Whereas when you come to the Wavestate, you've just got the 4 parts on there. So you can't do the same level of complexity, but once you get into the wave sequencing, it's way more complex, and there's a lot more you can do with it. So there's going to be no way that you could take one of these sounds and bring it over. Something like this one you could do, because Will I Dream, it's only got 1 patch, and of that patch it's got 2 sounds. So that's something that you can recreate on the Wavestate fairly easily. And some of the wave sequences are actually already in there, so you don't have to recreate them all yourself. So if I go to this one here, this Tangerine Dream one, the sequence is already in there. In fact, actually, this one I made myself actually, but there are some which are already in there. So like, I think this one is this Mr. Terminator. Yeah, so this is one that was already in there. So you can't import them in, you can't there's no way of doing it. The only way to do it is by ear, and that's how I created this patch bank here for the Wavestate. So they are pretty close, and some of them you probably couldn't tell the difference if you didn't know which instrument was which. But it is a manual job of programming these and building up these layers, which is what I've done. So if you've got a Wavestate, you can download that set of sounds. And here they are. So there's the 38 sounds. So these are some of the ones I liked. So just download those and you can put them in your Wavestate. If there are any particular Wavestation patches you'd like to see recreated on the Wavestate, then let me know. Either leave a comment, so you can send me an email or however you want, and I'll import them and I'll manually create them. So it's just a question of going through them and just doing it by ear. So I shall do that. By the way, please send comments through to the chat as well if you've got any questions as I'm going through this. So that's the first thing I wanted to address. The question came is no way to convert them, but you can do a lot of them by ear, and there's a lot of them. The actual wave sequences are in the timing lanes. These lanes, these sequence lanes are already got in. All the Wavestate ones are in there. So if I go to example here, put this layer on, turn it to a wave sequence, browse the wave sequence. If you go to the Wavestation, you'll see all these that are on there. These are all from the original Wavestation. So you can import these in. So there's a Tad Dream one, and you'll see loads of them in here. So if you can, in the editor, find the wave sequence that it's using, so like this one, and then you can then go into here. You can see this one using a dream sequence. So we could see if dream sequence is in there. I suspect it probably is. There it is. So that's the way you would start. If you want me to talk more about this, let me know in the comments, and we can go through and recreate some of those patches if we've got time tonight, or we can do as a separate video on there. So that's something that is really interesting with the Wavestate. I really enjoyed the Wavestate as well. Getting into the wave sequencing, it's an interesting synth. Getting used to these timing lanes is quite interesting as well. One of the questions which we had in was how do you set the crossway fade between the steps? There's a few different ways of doing this. If I go to the M1, no one's seen these yet, so live stream watchers are getting a preview, an exclusive preview here. This is a collection I'm currently working on for the Wavestate. This is the M1 collection. So what I've done on this one is I've gone through the M1 VST, and I've picked out some of my favourite sounds, because some of the sounds are, the waveforms are in the Wavestate, because the M1 and the Wavestation shared a lot of patches. So I've managed to recreate some of these. Actually, these aren't all of them, because the rest are all on my Wavestate. I've not imported them into the native one yet. But I've been working on some ones with timing lanes on here. I don't know whether any of those have got it on actually. But here's an interesting one. You can see. So here's a timing one where you can hear there's no crossfade between them. But if I go to this layer, there's a drum one. So we wouldn't normally want audio crossfading between those, but you can actually set it up. So you can just choose the crossfade time. You can do it up here, and you can choose the fade in and fade out. Normally when I do drums, I've figured out recently the best way is to set that crossfade time down, because for drums you want them to go from one to the next without crossfading. Maybe if we get a bass one, there we go. What I could do on, say, the first note, and the second note here, is we could start to add some fade in, but then I'll probably change it to be time mode, and we can start to do it. that fade in there. We'll get some more fade time. We could have a fade in and a fade out, so it sounds much closer. And we could. So that's how you can adjust the fade in. So you can see, you can really play about with these waves, these crossfades, and you can make some interesting sounds on there. Les, yeah, good. You gave your Wavestate back. Well, I'm surprised you don't want it back yourself, but yeah, these are great. These patches are pretty good for the Wavestate. I've quite enjoyed doing these, especially the Wavestation ones, or the Wavestation ones for the Wavestate. I've enjoyed doing those because the Wavestation was one of my favourite 90s synths. So it's definitely fun to try and recreate those, because all the bits are there. You've just got to do a bit of that assembly work yourself, which, yes, it's by ear, but it is quite fun. When it comes to do the M1, it's a bit more work because not all the bits are there. But this crossfade is quite interesting, so that's an interesting question on there. Yeah, good point as well, if you've still got the native. The native is pretty good on here. I like the dials when I'm doing the sound design, but I use a combination of them both. But I think probably the Modwave is the best one. If you're going to keep one of the hardwares, I keep the Modwave, and then for the Wavestate after that one. So crossfades are interesting. What I'm probably going to try and do is get someone that's doing a bit more patch design with the Wavestate, and we'll have them as a guest on a future episode of the podcast, which, if you don't know, the podcast is the TDL show that I do with Guy Whittaker. We do it normally once a week on a Tuesday evening. Don't live stream it, but it goes out on a Thursday. So while we're doing the live streams, we skip a week while we're doing that. But we have had some guests. We've had Dan Phillips on from Korg, who his team was responsible for the Wavestate and the Modwave and the new ARP 2600 that's coming out as well, the software version of that. So check out that interview with Dan, because that's really interesting. You can hear about how the Wavestate and the Modwave were created, how they got started, why they were done, and why they were done with natives and everything else. And even things like why the native interface is different to the editor interface, which I always thought, well, why do you need two different interfaces? But actually the way Dan explains it makes sense as well. So check that out. Go on to our YouTube channel and have a look for TDL show, or search for Dan Phillips. You'll see. But we've had other guests on, music tech guests as well, so we talk all sorts on there, all sorts of tech. Anyway, so crossfade and things like that, we're going to do a bit more on the Wavestate when I've learnt a bit more on it. I've spent a lot more time on the Modwave than I have with the Wavestate. Now, another question that I had in was applies to actually Modwave and Wavestate, and that's samples. And one of the questions that people asked me was when you get the issue where you open a bank. So say I open a bank on here. Let's go through to my Modwave folder. Okay, so I've got loads of banks on here. Now, normally what I do is I have a master bank, but I've got some other banks because I've released other banks. So let's just say, for example, I haven't got the master bank. I was just using one of these, so I could open my Akai X73. And I'm not connected to the Modwave at the moment because this is my laptop, where you see native on my desktop machine. Behind here, I have the actual the editor on there. But when you got your bank like that, so say you downloaded this bank from me, you've got it connected up to your device, your Wavestate or your Modwave, and then you just do send bank like that. That does is it clears out the sample memory in the device and then sends this bank over. Then if you've got a sound that uses one of these samples, that's great. But let's say now, say you've done that and you create some patches using these samples, and then you get another bank from me or someone else, and you get, say, this Fairlight one, and you open the Fairlight one, and you're okay, let's send that bank over. So you do the send bank one. That then takes out all the others that have just been in the Akai set, goes out and whizzes across the Fairlight set. So that when you go to one of your presets that uses the Akai set, it's got a missing sample and you won't see the waveform there, so it'll just say missing sample and you won't hear anything. So the question was when they're going to fix this bug, and I would say, well, what Korg would say, I think, is that this is not a bug, this is a feature, this is how it's meant to work. These sample banks get compiled, so when you do that send bank, you'll notice it gets compiled. The other thing, if you're using the native one, you do the save bank for plugin, which does the same thing. It compiles it for you and sends that compiled versions, compressed and everything else, to the device. So if you wanted to have all these Fairlight ones, and you wanted, say, the Akai one, then the simple solution is to have one bank. And that's what I've done. So what you could do, you could create a new bank, and then you add the multi-samples in. So when I give you these files, let's just go up. So when I supply you these files, you'll notice I always give you the multi-samples as well, which are here. So as well as the main bank file, I give you all these multi-samples. So all you need to do is say, I want all my Akai ones. So let's import them in. I also want let's find a different set. Oh, there's a Fairlight set. There's all the Fairlight ones. So bring those in. Okay, so now I've got a set with the Fairlight and the Akai in. I can add the next ones in now. So if you get another set from someone else, then you can go for another set. The value 2 and so on. So you just keep repeating that, adding in the samples as you go along. So I just add all these in. Okay. Oh, we've already got that one in, so I can skip that one. Okay, so now I've got all those in. Then you can save it. So save it as your bank, and then send that one to the Modwave or the Wavestate. And that way, all those sounds will be in your device. So that's how you manage it. So what I do is open my bank. We can continue. So here's my master one. I can load that in, and that is all my master samples. So all of Fairlights, Akais and other stuff that I've been playing around. There's some drum ones in there as well. I send those over. So that's how I maintain my banks. A question from Les: will there be a Fairlight 3 version 3 or volume 3? Yes, there will be. Definitely going to do that. So I've got sets that I'm currently working on, but I am going to do a volume 3 for the Modwave and for the Wavestate as well. I think these are going to be, I'm trying to remember what's next. Guitars, I've done guitar basses. So I think this will be strings and some orchestral type ones. I've got some brass ones as well. So I've still got quite a lot actually of those samples that I need to work on. So that's how I do the managing my sample banks anyway. The only limitation is you've got the RAM storage and the bank storage. RAM is the number of zones and files you create, so like these individual ones, and the storage is the physical wave files, how big they are as well. But like I said, they are compressed. Mine are all fairly small. I haven't created multi-zones on them. You see the Fairlights don't use many zones. The drum kit does use 38 because we've got 38 drum sounds, one on each key. But they're not massive samples. You can see they're pretty tiny. You see there are some bigger ones, I can't see them on here, but there are some of these here off the TX7 which are sampled. They're ones I created, they're a bit bigger. Incidentally, what I am going to be working on is a D110 sample set as well when I get round to doing that one as well. Okay, next question in, unless any other from the chat yet, is how to use a mod processor beside sums. So this is quite an interesting one. So let's have a look at the mod processor. So the mod processor is a way of modifying values depending on different inputs. And I've used this on a few patches, and here it is, and it does look a bit confusing at first, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad. So we've got a sound there. Let me choose something simple. We'll stick with the Gen. We'll go with the lead sound for now. So we've got a lead sound there, and it's got vibrato on it. I'm going to use the mod wheel to show some examples of this. So what I'm going to do is let's just turn the vibrato setting down, which I had in the patch, so there's no vibrato. Right, no vibrato on there now. So the idea behind these mods is there's a few different. The one that we mentioned there is was using sum. So we'll look at the gate one. How we can use the gate one. So we can say this is, you've got two choices here. So when a fixed value or a source goes below a value, then we set a value. So let's go for the source as being let's do that one. So when a source is below a value, we do one thing, and when it's above a value, we do something else. I used this on the B3 collection to switch samples. So when the mod wheel was at a lower rate, it would play A, layer A, and then when you went above, you do it on layer B. But anyway, let's go for that. So what's the source we're going to do? So the source I'm going to do, for the sake of making this easy, is the mod wheel. And when the mod wheel is less than 50%, so it's below 50, well 61 on there, then what do we want it to do? I want it to be the output of oscillator 1. When it's above that value, oh, I've done it the wrong other way around, haven't I? So when the value is above 53%, it's going to do oscillator 1's waveform. And to show this is a simple one, when it's below, I want to do oscillator 2's value. And to make things nice and simple, or obvious, I'm going to make oscillator 2 a square wave. Oscillator 1 is a sawtooth. I'm going to go to that tune control, and then let's go back to the mod. Then what we're going to do is the tune is going to be affected by mod processor 1, and we'll make it high value. Oh, there we go, it's already here. So we can hear now we've got a square wave because the value is below 53. If we go up, it should switch to sawtooth. There we go. So that is using the mod processor as a switch, a gate, almost like a logic gate on a computer. So we've got it there. So it's set as a source and a source. So when the mod wheel, let's change that to exactly 50%. When the mod wheel is less than 50%, we're using the value of the output of LFO2. When the value is above it, we're going to use the value of LFO1. So that means we could use speed, different LFOs, sample hold, whatever you want to do. So, and then we're saying on the tuning, we're saying use the value of the mod output, only a bit. We're not going too mad with it, but we could change it up a bit. So that is the gate of a mod processor. So it's a really useful tool. What I did with the Hammond B3 one, I had 4 speeds of the Leslie speaker to go through, and if there'd been 2 speeds, I could have just used the mod control to switch between the volume of 1 and 2. But as there was 4, I had to do the first 25% to be oscillator 1 of layer A. The second 25 to 50% had to be just oscillator 2 of layer A. Then the next quarter would be oscillator 1 of layer B, and then the final bit would be oscillator 2 of layer B. So I used these mod controls to do that. There are some other options you've got on there as well. You can take an offset, so you can take the value, again let's use the mod wheel. The value of the mod wheel, we can then offset it, so we can set it as a higher value. So here we offset that value of the mod wheel, so whatever the mod wheel is 100 higher. Or we can multiply that. So that's an offset. I could do some quantizing. I wonder if that sounds like a few steps of the quantize. So instead of it being smooth, now you can hear we've quantized. If I do it into low steps, the higher steps one, you probably might not be able to hear it. There we go, because there's 32 steps. So you've got that control of it being a fixed value rather than just the smooth value. And it doesn't obviously have to be the mod wheel. It could be velocity, it could be poly aftertouch, it could be the chaos pad. Perhaps the chaos pad is a bit too random. You can then switch that into 32, so you could be using for wave position. So let's give you an example of wave position. If I go to a pulse width, and we'll apply the mod processor. Quite a bit on that. Let's just drop that tuning off for now. Okay, I did the wrong. Put the mod on the wrong oscillator there. So it was smooth. If you just applied the mod control directly to the wave position, it'd be lovely and smooth. But because we've put it as 5 steps, you can hear it switch it in. Now imagine if you replaced that with velocity. You've suddenly got velocity. You wouldn't hear the smooth transitions anyway because you keep press. But you get the idea. That's what you can do with that. You've got scales, so you can do scaling of it. You've got curve, so you can smooth that curve out. And there's the actual smooth. So you kind of make it it's a bit like a voltage processor on a 2600 or something like that. You can take that velocity and smooth it out, or flick it back to the mod wheel. If I smooth that out, you can hear. So it smoothed it out quite a bit there. So if I put it up to full, so I instantly put the mod wheel up once I've pressed the key. You can hear it gradually increases. And same when I bring it down, it should come straight down. But I could do that. So a slow attack, straight down. But it's got that decay on it, so it's smoothed down. So that's the idea with the mod processors, is that it's got that smooth transition, and of course the one that the original question was about, the sum one. So you're adding the main input and you can have a sum, so you can have a combination. So this, you could use a combination of the chaos with polyaftertouch values, add those values together, and then that you get the sum of that amount. So you could control your envelopes by by key velocity and by chaos, so you can have both applied at the same time. So or combined, I should say, because you could say, look at the filter cutoff there. So let's say that filter cutoff, we could have it combined. So let's go to mod processor 1. Well, now we've got the sum, haven't we? So we've still got, so here we've got the sum of the mod wheel, but we could also add the sum of the velocity. So we've got the combined values. Because traditionally what you would normally do, you could have the position there controlled by one control and then velocity as well, but then that would be applying both at the same time. This adds the two values together. And doing that as well with that velocity and something like that just gives you that bit of randomness as well, if you wanted to include that sort of random that you get on analog synths as well. So that's the mod processor. Please let me know if you've got any more questions on the mod processor. It's really powerful. You've got two mod processors that are separate, and you can also the output of one mod processor to the other. So you're not limited to one. You can actually do that gated thing, and then you can also do the smooth thing, and you can combine them together. So you've got two mod processors, so you could do the combined value of 4 parameters into one, or the gates of 4 gates into one value as well. So really powerful stuff. Just finding the use of it, but sometimes it's just exactly what you need. I have used it on a few samples and a few sounds as well. Yeah, a lot of mod on resale. Well, if you get the chance to get one, give it a try. If you get the native one, the demo as well, you can get that for free as well. Now another question is, someone asked if I got another Wavestate, and this applies to both Modwave and the Wavestate really, I want to transfer the Korgs from one device to another. How do I do it without importing them, all the sound manually in? So without going through the patch processor, manually importing them in and out. Actually, it's fairly simple. I don't know, I can show you on here. No, you can get it from the Modwave editor, but I don't think I've got my editor on here actually, but there is export all user data. So you can just do export all user data from the Wavestate editor or the Modwave editor, then go to your other device and import. I don't do it that way generally. I generally just export and import the sets. So say this gen set, I've done it on the Modwave. I export it ready to upload to you guys and import it into the natives as well. But the easiest way is you can just do a complete export. In fact, there it is, export bundle of all user sound data. So this gets everything. In fact, let's show you. I can go on to there. I'm going to call this demo, and then that's going to export everything, and then I can just go to the device and import that in. So it's really simple actually. It's just, yeah, but as I say, I could do that, but I haven't done that. And then to import that in, then you go to your other device, just find that file and import it in, and it'll import everything. Well, it's quite nice. It gives you the options. If things already exist, it'll let you know, and if you're trying to update factory performances or whatever, it'll let you know all that as well. So it handles it really, really well. And I know that Dan Phillips' team at Korg did a lot of work on getting this right, and I think this is probably the Modwave and the Wavestate, probably the easiest synths I've had to manage on multiple devices as well. They work really well. So that is how you do that. So that's how you would manage those. Okay, so those were the questions I've had in so far. I want to ask you now if there's any other questions or any areas of the Modwave you would say. We've got about 20 minutes left of the stream. Said for my let me know anyway in the comments now if you've got anything else you want to look at for the last 20 minutes. I can give you a quick preview of some of these sounds as well. So we've got some gen bass sounds and some deep bass sounds. And if you look at these, you can see how simple they are. The Gen SX1000 that I've been modelling on here is a mono synth, analog mono synth, just there behind me. And then, yeah, I've modded those in. Good question, Les, that's in there. Is there any reason not to save all single layer performances programs so that you have the option to play with other programs? It's definitely a good idea to do that. I'm a bit lazy and don't always do that, but I normally do. So especially when I've been doing stuff, say like the JX3P set that I did, I was starting to layer these out as well. So you'll see quite a few of these. I've layered these out. So these are programs, not performances. Especially when I was doing those M1s, you can see there, because I knew I'd be reusing these layers because the M1 has a lot of layers, and especially if you're duping up stuff as well. So yeah, you should do. Laziness means that I don't always do it. So let's go say this CS81. You can see I didn't do it, but I'm only using one layer. But it would be better if I did do it. Then I could then use that CS80 layer. I just didn't select it, did I? There we go. Oh, that's because I'm in programs mode. I did do it on the on there, didn't I? So yeah, if I go to CS80, if I go to the brass one, you'll see that I did do the CS80 there, even though it's a single layer. Generally, if I'm doing a dual layer sound, I always save the individual layers. But in this case, like with the CS80, it was worth doing because I know that is a layer that I'll use for something else. And then, as Les said, you could then, I could then combine that with something else, so I could get a. So now I've got tubular bells layer and the brass layer. So it is always worth doing. Like I say, I'm a bit lazy sometimes. When I've been doing it on the Wavestate, I definitely was doing that because I was some of the performances of the Wavestation ones that I was creating were actually separate patches on the Wavestation, so it was worth doing that one. Yeah, good guy. Yeah, very. So yeah, it is a good tip that. It's a lot easier. And one other thing I do as well, my other tip for when you're doing your own patches as well, is try and do these collections, because otherwise it gets quite hard to remember what you've done. So I always create a collection, especially because I'm uploading these to you guys as well. So it makes, I can just say for example with this one, I name them all that CS80. Then you can go into the library and change it to all data for CS80, and you'll notice I've got some programs and some performances on there. When I was doing the Wavestate, I was also had sequences and effective. When I did Tangerine Dream one, I also created some set lists as well. I think I'm sure there's some set lists somewhere as well. So you then can just select all data, save that, and then you can export that. Incidentally, is anybody using set lists as well? But interesting if anybody use that, because I didn't realise how useful set lists were. But when you're going through this on here, if you go from an external synth going through the MIDI patch controls, the up down that you would get. So I've got a key stage over there with a rotary control, but you could be from any synth that sends MIDI program change up and down. It actually, I could never quite understand. I always thought it would go through in maybe this order or something like that, and it never seems to go through in the order that you would expect it to go through, and that's because it's actually going through into a set list. If you go to set list here, you'll see the one it defaults to is this taste of Modwave. That is the order that if you send program up, program down from an external controller, that is what the sounds, this is the order the sounds will get selected. So if I was using my key stage and went through the rotary control, it would start off with that one and it would flick its way around. Obviously you've got the set list button on the front of the Modwave, but I generally don't tend to use them very much. But then when I discovered that with the rotary control, it's really handy when you're using a native and you want to then switch through the patches. So here is one I made earlier. So here you can see a set list TD, a Tangerine Dream one, and here I've dragged the Tangerine Dream sounds in. So I'll just leave that there for a second, go back to performances, and let's go to the Tangerine Dream set. There we go. Oh, it doesn't have to be. Let's go for the M1 set instead. So there's the M1 set, and I could say the M1 12 string I want to be on the next performance after the Tangram Van vocoder. So there we go. So there's that, and then I could have the piano, and then that one. So now, when I go back to set lists, and this is the key to it, when you go to set lists, and just to take that filters off, you then set it as active. Okay, that's active now, so that if I go through the MIDI program change, it goes through exactly in that order. I think the front panel will also switch that between the, they'll switch those two as well. So set lists worth checking out, especially if you're using a native and a MIDI controller. Okay, so just seeing that question there about the square waves. Yeah, I like the square waves. I must admit I'm a bit of a pulse width fan, but yeah, square waves are good, and of course you can use squares to modify anything. The Gen has a nice square wave, so if you like your square waves, there is a nice square wave on there. But I must admit, what I'm a big fan of doing is changing that into a pulse width square, so we can go and then applying a bit of modulation to that. And again, you could apply anything, but I do like a bit of LFO on there, or envelope. Or what you can do is you can also use, what I do like for that, let's not the envelope off, is to use, I think I've shown you this tip before, but this is definitely one of the features that was introduced in the version 2 of the Modwave, is free running LFOs. So if I put an LFO on there now, let's apply. Now you notice it's not in free running mode at the moment. So let's go to LFO. So every time I hit a key, it restarts the LFO. But if you put it into free running mode, it doesn't do that, which is great for doing filter type controls on there. So, question in the chat room: would you recommend buying a Wavestate synth as well as native? I think yes, I would. I did do that, so yes, I would. I got a better PC, and actually, the better PC probably made more sense to use the PC version, because the PC I was using before was a bit underpowered, so I couldn't really use the Wavestate native. But since I've got a better PC, I do find it works quite well. But still, there's nothing like having the hands-on control, especially I've got it midied up to the key stage, which has got poly aftertouch and everything else, so it's great. And you've got the joystick on there as well. I always wanted a Wavestation, so the Wavestate is great. And I have managed to make sounds when I was just using the native. I really didn't click with the sound interface, but now I do. So yeah, if you're going to use it as a main device, I would definitely recommend it. You can, if you like the native version, then you'll like the hardware version. If you're not so sure about the native version, then maybe you won't. But I do like it. I think the Modwave is the best one to have in the hardware. But just things like envelope controls, it's so much easier doing it in hardware. On hardware. Commenting there about the Chaos Pad. The Chaos Pad is actually really useful in moderation. I'm trying to think. I did one recently. What was the last collection I did? Was the Soundscape ones, and I think I did a Chaos Brass one on there, didn't I? Or maybe it was another set that was on there. But if you use it in moderation, it sounds great. So I'll give you a quick example. We've got a few minutes left. Let's get sound. In fact, let's go for something a bit. So I've got a nice brass sound there, a bit of filter on it as well. You can see I've got all sorts of things controlling that one, but I'm gonna put the Chaos, and we'll use the Chaos X for the cutoff, and then we'll do some resonance with Y. So if you make it fairly subtle, you can get some. You can then get some nice effects on there. Changing velocity on the Chaos, you could use the Chaos to as a mod processor with velocity and combine those two, and then you can use the Chaos and velocity as well. So no problem doing that one. So you get some nice filter sweeps on there, almost CS80 like, where you can do some of the sweeps on there. Of course, the benefit of the Chaos is you can use the physics on it as well. But yeah, if you want to combine velocity and the Chaos Pad, then yeah, use a mod processor and go for it. You can definitely do that. I think it works best with nice simple sounds sometimes as well. Let's have a look, say something like this one. We could modify that envelope, and you could change the envelopes with that's something you could actually do, isn't it? Change the envelopes with the Chaos and use that as well to change with some velocity as well. Okay. So someone asked me about the Fairlight these are some of the Fairlight that I've yet to. So we have got some extra Fairlight sounds. So these are some of the other ones that I've been working on. I've got a lot of Fairlight samples to load in. They'll be coming on a future banks. So I'm working on I've got a lo-fi set, but the Gen set is the set that will be coming out this week. So make sure you check out. That's going to be out on Thursday. These patches will be available. I might have a couple of extra ones to go in there, and then the instruction video. I've got a video coming up on recreating sounds, how you do that. I've picked the Yazoo Only You to get the brass sound on that. So yeah, definitely check that out. One, please like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. The numbers are getting up there. I'm trying to get to 10,000. It's doable in the next couple of months, so with your help, I definitely appreciate that. If you like any of the sound packs, anything, just head over to digitalifestyle.com and grab those and get those on there. If you like them and you want to buy me beer, that's great. There's a tip button on there. You can leave me PayPal, or there's a little donate button on there as well. I'm not charging for any of these sound packs at the moment. I do enjoy doing the videos as well, so please let me know what you want to see on future videos and live streams as well. We'll probably do another one of these live streams next month, so I need to know what you want to see in the live stream, so I don't just turn up and nothing to say. Let me know, and I'll come up with some ideas for that one, your suggestions, and we'll come up with something for a live show. Please check out our Digital Lifestyle show. We'll be back next Thursday, and you can find us on our YouTube channel. On that you'll see, also go to digitalifestyle.com, you'll see all the stuff on there where I talk with Gary. We talk all sorts of stuff. As well as music tech, we talk Windows tech, we talk EV news, smart home news, all sorts. So whatever we are interested in, we'll talk about that on there. So if you've got anything you'd like us to talk about, Gary and I, let me know. We're always looking for guests, so if you want to join us on the show, let me know as well. So thanks very much for everybody that's joined this evening. It was really great having your comments in there. A bit of a free-form show this time, but I do like doing these live streams, so really do appreciate it. So, like I said, any other questions, drop me an email, ian@digitalifestyle.com, or you can leave it through our various social media channels. And you can find me at iStixon on socials and our YouTube channel. So thanks very much. I'll hang around for another couple of minutes, answer any questions, but until next time, I'll see you then.